Running the super splitter is always fun, guys. I haven't had it out in a while. I was over at the wood yard and I had a number of logs that were up by the 405. So my practice would be to take them down to the Eastonmade axis and get them split up. But these were uglies for the most part. And I thought I would just truck them home. I could bring the super splitter out under the shade of this maple tree and split them up here, and then I'm going to take them over to the woodshed. I was just going to split them over there, but it's kind of hot and we got a lot of sun. I'm in the shade, taking my time, enjoying myself with the super splitter, and I thought I would bring it to you. It is not often that, you know, I make big chunk wood like this, but I heat with wood. That's how I got into this business to begin with. And when I started getting serious about becoming a firewood delivery service, enter this guy, and everything changed. This is, I think, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, one of the most productive log splitters on planet Earth. And I attribute to my success and where I'm at today because of this guy right here. When I started selling firewood, I didn't know what I was doing. I would cut up wood. I had one of those Troy built 27-ton log splitters, and the benefit of that thing was I could sleep while I would split wood because it was that slow. And I thought, there's just no way you can make a living selling firewood. But you know, there's all these really cool machines out there, and this is probably the coolest. Now, this is just an inexpensive, highly productive machine. If you are used to splitting wood with one of those box store splitters, this thing, and I am not joking, guys, 10 times more productive than one of those. There was a time with my firewood delivery service that every single stick of firewood was touched by this log splitter. And that was even when I had a processor, that Dyna, my first one. It didn't have an adjustable knife, and that's when I started getting steered towards value-added firewood. Instead of mangling all of that wood with a 6-way that wasn't adjustable, I would split those logs in half, and then I would resplit with the super splitter, getting it down to that right size for value added and for the restaurants. And gosh, I didn't like spending money on this. At the time, it was twice as expensive as the box store splitter. That was scary. You know, now when you think of all the machines that you buy, it's small potatoes. But I'm serious. If you are thinking of getting into firewood, there are a lot of splitters now that are in existence that weren't available back when I got into this. For instance, the Eastonmade Ultra. I ran that, the Wolf Ridge 17 RS, you know, still a little bit more expensive than this, but the speed and efficiency and the price to get you into a serious production schedule, it's right here. And there are knockoffs, and there are some good ones that are out there, but this one was the original. I think these are made in Boston. I have no association with this company, and they don't seem to have any interest in my videos, but you know, I give credit where credit's due, and this machine is awesome. And I know that there are a lot of them out there, and I know a lot of you guys had bought these based upon what you saw on my channel, and they are for real. You cannot imagine a more productive machine for the price in one of these kinetic splitters. If you are not familiar with how these work, these, and you might have noticed that these work on low RPM. I have two 75-pound flywheels. There's one on this side and there's one on the other side. You can see one of them right there. Okay, it's driven by a belt, and they spin a pinion, and this lever engages the rack into the pinion, and that's where you get your 2-second cycle time. And if you are making kindling or just looking for smaller splits and you don't want to be doing it all day long, which I used to, this is it. This has the Honda, I don't even know what size it is, but here it is, a GX 160. You don't run these on high RPM. You can if you want, but I found that you don't need to. And they work, and they do a great job. You know, so the knock on these though, and there are a few, I consider them a finicky machine. And there are a few shortcomings with these. I don't think that they're necessarily that bad of a problem, but they are a finicky machine. I don't think they like to be run outside when it's raining, or if you're using, if you're splitting wood that's been soaking wet from rain or snow or ice, and it's because of this top bearing. They can get gummed up and quit spinning, and then they'll cut into the top beam, or they'll flatten that bearing, and it just makes it not want to work that well. And then you have these two bearings underneath. There's one on this side, and then there's one on this side. Let me see if I can show you up underneath. There they are. Okay, so there's one on each side. I got a heavy spray lube. I don't even know where I got it. It's just an aerosol, and it's just heavier than like WD-40. And I'll hit those bearings before each time I run this machine, and it seems to work fine. I've never had a problem with these bearings, but I think it's because I take such care of them. I pay attention to them. That's what I'm saying. This is not a machine where you can just put it out in any kind of weather and just start banging out firewood. That's what I think. They're fair weathered machines, and I only run them when the weather is dry. The other shortcoming, this top beam can get gummed up because that bearing's pressing down, and if there is just mud or grime from a log, it gets it pressed in here, and you got to keep scraping it off because this will get built up with so much gunk that this bearing will quit spinning on it. I will pick up a piece of wood that just comes off the splitter, and I use it to scrape it off. I don't use metal because I'm afraid, it'll be scratching over time, because I'm scraping this thing all the time when I'm running it, and it's just to keep this clean. All of these things that you do to keep these things happy, it's no problem at all when you think about all the productivity that you can get out of one of these. The last thing that people will criticize the kinetic splitters is that they'll say, well, they can't split, they struggle on tough logs, on knots and crotches and all. My position is, who cares? Serious. Why do we put so much emphasis on a log splitter that can split everything? I wouldn't want a log splitter that could split everything because it wouldn't be the right splitter for me. You know, these things are fast. They will resplit anything faster than anything. They are awesome. But will they struggle on big, tough, ugly logs? Sure, they will. And you saw me running some of these logs. There's some knots and there was some branches. They struggle on it, but you just keep hitting it and hitting it. I have said this will split anything that you can lift up onto this, and it'll split it. But again, it's going to struggle. But I'm just saying, why throw out a log splitter when because it can't split that ugly log? If that log is so ugly and it won't split it, I will go throw it into my neighbor's yard when it's nighttime just to get it out of my life. Why spend all that time on that log when you can just knock out everything else and have a yard full of value-added firewood? I have had this machine for a while, and unfortunately it's been sitting in my barn, and I had a mouse nest inside and I've been cleaning it out. If I was a mouse, I think I could have found a better place to build a house than on top of a rack and pinion gear, but whatever. This machine though, I used it all the way up until I hit this spot in my production and the size that my business was getting. Because I rely on machines, I was getting bigger logs and they could process them down, like that 405 would process a big log down right into value-added firewood. But there's still logs that it won't split, so I would cut those off, and I was learning that, and I'm not getting any younger, I can't pick the big logs up anymore. And that's where I think if I did outgrow this machine in that capacity, it's because of the volume that I'm getting at. So that's enter the Eastonmade Axis, because it has a log lift, and that thing is probably just as fast as this, maybe. But you know, it costs more, but it's commercial grade and it's awesome. And you know, I still think I have a place for this machine, but that Eastonmade Axis took it all up. So I don't really use this thing anymore. It sits in my barn. It is sentimental to me, and I don't ever plan on selling it, but I think, you know, I need to get it covered up because the birds are getting to it in the barn, and obviously the mice are starting to get into it. But it still serves a purpose because I was able to split all of these logs, and you know, some of these were ugly, and they're going to go right into the woodshed. The super splitter. I think if there's anything that has put me to where I am right now, you're looking at it right here. That's what this thing means to me. Great machine, highly recommended. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up, and everyone have a great day.